Welcome back to the Crown Academy Debate Podcast. I'm Coach Mike, and today we're tackling a topic that sounds like science fiction, but it's actually being debated at the United Nations right now. The question is simple and terrifying. Should machines be allowed to decide who lives and dies in war? Today's debate centers on lethal autonomous weapon systems, or LAWS, weapons that can select and attack targets without direct human control. The UN Secretary General has called these weapons politically unacceptable and morally repugnant, and has urged countries to create a legally binding treaty by 2026. So that's today's motion. THBT. The world should adopt a legally binding treaty prohibiting and regulating lethal autonomous weapons. Kai will argue for a treaty. Nova will argue against it, saying existing international law is enough. Kai, Nova. Ready?
I was ready until you said killer robots. Now I'm picturing Terminator walking into a UN meeting.
Technically, that would count as a diplomatic breakthrough.
All right, let's begin with some groundwork. First, definitions. A lethal autonomous weapon system is generally described as a weapon that, once activated, can select and engage targets without further human intervention. That means a human launches the system, but the machine decides who or what to attack. The big debate is whether these systems can ever follow the rules of war, what lawyers call international humanitarian law. Kai, give us the affirmative case.
All right. My argument is pretty simple. Delegating life and death decisions to machines is a line humanity should not cross. 3 reasons. First, human control war already pushes ethical boundaries. But at least right now, a human makes the final decision to pull the trigger. Autonomous weapons break that principle. Once activated, the system chooses targets on its own. That means the human user cannot fully determine in advance who will be struck or when. If a mistake happens, a civilian killed, a surrendering soldier attacked, who is responsible? The programmer? The commander? The machine?
Excellent point. International law requires someone to be accountable for every use of force. A machine cannot stand trial.
True. Now, the risk to civilians, this is the second problem. Context. Human soldiers can recognize things machines struggle with. Surrender, wounded soldiers, children nearby, cultural signals. The Red Cross warns that autonomous systems may not reliably interpret these signals. And if a weapon can't distinguish properly between combatants and civilians, that violates the basic rules of war. Okay, consider the global arms race. The third problem, the AI arms race. If autonomous weapons become normal, every military will race to build faster, smarter, deadlier machines. And once those technologies spread, they could fall into the hands of rogue states, terrorists, militias. A treaty sets global rules before that happens.
So, your position is, humans must always remain responsible for lethal force.
Exactly. If a robot makes the kill decision, we've crossed an ethical line we can't undo.
Nova, the floor is yours.
My position is not let robots run wild. My position is a treaty is the wrong tool. 3 reasons. First, the existing law already applies. International humanitarian law already governs every weapon ever invented. That includes distinction between civilians and soldiers, proportional force, accountability. Those rules don't disappear just because AI is involved. So the real problem is enforcing existing law, not writing a new treaty.
So basically the law is already there. We just need to apply it.
Exactly. And writing a new treaty might actually slow down progress. Next, definitions are impossible. The second problem, definition. There is currently no global agreement on what counts as an autonomous weapon. Automation exists on a spectrum. For example, missile defense systems already automatically intercept incoming rockets. Drones use AI-assisted targeting. Surveillance systems track targets autonomously. Where do you draw the line? If the definition is vague, countries will just design systems that technically avoid it.
This is the classic arms control problem. A rule that cannot be clearly defined cannot be verified.
And no, the verification nightmare. And that leads to the third issue. Even if a treaty existed, how would you verify compliance? Autonomy often exists in software, not hardware. A country could update code, install new targeting algorithms, modify behavior remotely, without changing the weapon platform at all. Inspectors can check missiles. They cannot easily inspect millions of lines of AI code.
So your argument is, the treaty would look good on paper but fail in reality.
Exactly. Better to focus on risk management, testing, and human oversight, like many militaries already do.
Now we test the arguments. Kai, question for Nova.
If machines can decide who to kill, isn't that fundamentally different from every weapon before?
Yes, but autonomy can also reduce human error. Machines don't panic. They don't seek revenge. They don't get tired. In some environments, like intercepting incoming missiles, automation actually saves civilian lives.
But that's defensive systems. We're talking about machines choosing human targets.
And that is exactly why regulation matters. Not necessarily a global ban.
Let me push both of you. Kai, verification problem. How would a treaty actually work?
You regulate the critical functions: target selection, engagement decisions. Countries must declare systems using those functions and require human control at the final stage.
Nova, moral question. If a machine kills the wrong person, who is responsible?
The commander who deployed it. Responsibility doesn't disappear, and technology doesn't eliminate accountability.
Let's summarize the three real options the world is debating. Option 1, a binding treaty banning certain autonomous weapons. Option 2, a political declaration, shared norms but no legal enforcement. Option 3, rely on existing international law and national regulations. Kai, best argument for your model?
A treaty creates clear, global rules before the technology spreads uncontrollably.
Nova, best argument for yours?
Flexibility. Technology evolves faster than treaties. Regulation needs to evolve too.
Here's the real philosophical question behind all this. Throughout history, humans have invented weapons that make war more distant. Bows, guns, drones. But humans still decided when to use them. Autonomous weapons might change that. So, the real debate is not about robots. It's about responsibility.
If a machine makes the decision to kill, we might lose something deeply human.
But if technology can reduce harm, we might have a moral obligation to use it carefully.
And that's the challenge facing the world right now. Before the technology spreads everywhere, we have to decide what kind of rules should govern it. Because once autonomous weapons exist everywhere, it may be too late to control them.
So, the question for our listeners: would you support a treaty banning killer robots?
Or do you trust existing laws to regulate them?
Before we wrap up, we'd love to hear what you think about today's debate. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Which side made the stronger case?
Yeah, and remember, the motion we debated today was, this House believes that the world should adopt a legally binding treaty prohibiting and regulating lethal autonomous weapons. So if you were judging the round, which world makes more sense?
And for our debate students listening, this type of motion is called a counterfactual policy debate. That basically means we're comparing two possible worlds, one where the treaty exists and one where it doesn't.
Exactly. If you want to understand how those motions work in more detail, we actually have a full tutorial for you on our YouTube channel.
It's part of our debate breakdown series called What If the World Was Different? Understanding Counterfactual Motions.
That's episode 6, and there's also a free counterfactual motions worksheet you can download if you want to practice building these arguments yourself.
Thanks for listening today. Keep questioning, keep thinking, and keep debating ethically.
And we'll see you next time
On the Crown Academy Debate Podcast.